She was 31, unwanted, and completely alone. Until the one man everyone thought would choose the prettiest girl in the room walked straight past them all and picked her. In the year 1878, the American West was still wild and full of dreams. For a woman, turning 31 meant her chances of marriage were almost gone. People whispered that a woman of that age was too old. Amelia Vance understood this painful truth better than anyone. Amelia had been a school teacher in busy Boston. She loved opening books and watching children's eyes light up when they learned new words. But love and marriage had always stayed far away from her. She was tall, with plain brown hair, kind eyes, and a gentle smile. She was not beautiful in the way men usually noticed. 6 times she had answered advertisements for mail-order brides. 6 times she had packed her small bag and traveled to new towns with hope in her heart. Every single time, younger and prettier girls were chosen first. Amelia would stand quietly at the back, her hands folded, waiting. And every time, the men walked past her. Now, at 31, she was making her 7th and final journey. The train rattled toward the small town of Silver Bend. Amelia looked out the window at the endless, dusty land and whispered to herself, "This is my last chance. If no one chooses me here, I will go back to Boston and live alone forever." The train finally stopped at the tiny wooden station. Bright afternoon sunlight covered everything. Dust danced in the air. 15 women, most of them young and pretty, stepped down excitedly. A large group of men waited on the platform, ranchers in dusty boots, farmers with rough hands, and cowboys with wide hats. One by one, the men stepped forward and chose their brides. Happy voices and nervous laughter filled the air. "Miss, would you come with me?" one man asked a smiling blonde girl. "Yes, I would like that very much," she replied sweetly. Another man chose a girl with red hair. "You look strong and healthy," he said. "Thank you, sir. I promise to work hard," she answered. Amelia stood at the very end of the line. Her heart was beating so loudly she could hear it in her ears. Her hands felt cold. When the last young girl was chosen, silence fell over the platform. All eyes turned to Amelia. The men looked at her, then quickly looked away. No one moved. No one spoke. Amelia felt a sharp pain in her chest. Tears burned behind her eyes. She lowered her head and whispered softly to herself, "It's over. I knew it would end like this. I am done hoping." She bent down to pick up her old leather bag. Just then, heavy footsteps came from behind. A tall, broad-shouldered man walked through the crowd. Dust covered his boots and hat. He had a strong, serious face and kind but tired eyes. This was Silas Calloway, the most successful rancher in Silver Bend. Everyone knew his name. The crowd went completely quiet. Silas stopped right in front of Amelia. He looked at her carefully for a long moment. "I choose you, Miss Amelia Vance," he said in a deep, clear voice. A loud gasp rose from the people standing there. Women covered their mouths. Men whispered to each other in shock. "Did you see that? Silas chose her? But he could have any young girl he wanted." Amelia looked up slowly, her eyes wide with surprise. "Me?" she asked in a trembling voice. "Are you sure, sir?" Silas nodded calmly. "Yes, ma'am, I am very sure. If you will have me, I would be honored to take you home." That evening, Silas drove Amelia to his big but simple ranch house in a wagon. The house had strong wooden walls, a large stone fireplace, and windows that looked out over rolling green fields and faraway hills. They sat together at the kitchen table. Steam rose from 2 cups of hot coffee. Silas spoke first. "Miss Vance, Amelia, I want to be honest with you from the very beginning. I don't need a pretty face to decorate my house. I need a strong partner, someone who knows what hard times feel like, someone who has been knocked down by life many times, but still gets up every morning. When I saw you standing there at the station, I saw that strength in your eyes. Strength."
Amelia looked down at her hands. "Mr. Calloway, I am 31 years old. I have been rejected 6 times before. Why would you choose me when you could have chosen any younger girl?" Silas smiled gently. "Because those younger girls have not yet learned what real life costs. You have. That matters more to me than smooth skin or bright smiles." Over the next 7 days, they sat together every evening after supper and talked for hours. The conversations were slow, honest, and sometimes painful. One night, Silas told her about his past. "My first wife was Eleanor. She was a good woman. We were happy for 7 years. Then 3 years ago, she caught a terrible fever. I sat by her bed for days, holding her hand, praying she would open her eyes, but she never did. After she died, this big house became too quiet. I worked from sunrise till dark, but the loneliness followed me everywhere." Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "I am so sorry for your loss, Silas. That must have been very painful." Silas nodded. "It was. But life goes on. Now tell me about you, Amelia. Why did you keep trying even after being turned down so many times?" Amelia took a deep breath. "Because I was afraid of dying alone with no one to remember me. 6 times I stood in lines like today and watched other girls get chosen. Each time it hurt more. I began to believe there was something wrong with me. But I still hoped that somewhere there might be one man who would see me, not just my age or my plain face." Silas listened carefully. "I see you, Amelia. I see a woman with a good heart and a strong mind. I am not offering you only a marriage for convenience. I want a real partnership. You will be my wife, but also my equal. You will help me run this ranch, and if it pleases you, we can build a small school on this land. Many children around here have no teacher. You could teach them reading and writing. Would you like that?" Amelia's voice shook with emotion. "A school? Here? On your land? No one has ever offered me such a beautiful dream before. Yes, Silas, I would love that more than anything." On the 8th evening, after a simple dinner of beans, bread, and coffee, Silas reached across the table and took her hand gently. "Amelia, these past 7 days have shown me the kind of woman you are. I have come to respect you deeply. Will you marry me? Not because this is your last chance, but because you truly believe we can build a good, honest life together." Amelia felt her heart racing. All her life she had only heard the word no. She closed her eyes for a moment, then looked straight into his eyes. "Yes, Silas," she said clearly. "I will marry you, and I promise to be a good partner to you." Their wedding was quiet and simple. It was held in the small wooden church in Silver Bend. Only a few neighbors and ranch hands came. Amelia wore her plain blue dress from Boston. When the priest asked, "Do you, Amelia Vance, take this man to be your husband?" she answered with a steady voice, "I do." Life after the wedding was not easy or romantic like in storybooks. The first winter was very harsh.
Cold winds howled across the open plains. Many cattle became sick. Food sometimes ran low. One freezing morning, Amelia stood in the kitchen trying to light the wood stove. "Silas, I have never cooked on a stove like this before. In Boston, we had coal. How do I keep the fire strong?" Silas came behind her and showed her patiently. "Like this. Add small pieces first, then bigger ones. You will learn quickly, I know it." Another day, while learning to ride, Amelia fell from the horse into the soft mud. She sat there laughing at herself. "I must look ridiculous." Silas helped her up, smiling. "You look like someone who is not afraid to try. That is what matters." When spring arrived, Amelia turned an old empty barn into a school. She swept the floor, made desks from wooden planks, and hung a blackboard on the wall. On the first day, only 8 children came. "Good morning, children," she said warmly. "My name is Mrs. Amelia Calloway. Today, we will start with the alphabet. Who can tell me what sound A makes?"
The children slowly opened up to her. Within a few weeks, 25 children were coming every day. Amelia taught them with patience and love. She told them stories about courage, honesty, and never giving up. Difficult days still came. One night, a terrible storm hit. Strong winds tore part of the barn roof. The next morning, Amelia and Silas stood in the rain, looking at the damage. "What will we do now?" Amelia asked worriedly. Silas put his arm around her. "We will fix it together. That is what partners do." Another time, Silas caught a high fever and could not get out of bed. Amelia stayed awake for 2 nights, placing cool, wet cloths on his forehead and giving him medicine. "Amelia, you don't have to do all this," Silas said weakly. "Yes, I do," she replied softly. "You are my husband. Your pain is my pain now." When Silas finally opened his eyes and smiled at her, he whispered, "Thank you for staying with me." Slowly, a deep and steady love grew between them. It was built on respect, shared hard work, and quiet understanding. One beautiful evening, they sat on the porch watching the orange sunset. Silas spoke softly. "My love for you is different from the love I had for Eleanor. It is quieter, but it is just as deep and just as true. You have brought warmth and light back into this house, Amelia." Amelia rested her head on his shoulder. "I never believed I would find this kind of happiness. Thank you for seeing me when no one else did." Years passed peacefully. They had 3 children, first a daughter named Grace, then 2 strong sons, Thomas and Daniel. The house filled with laughter, tiny running feet, and happy voices. The school became bigger and more successful. One of Amelia's first students, a quiet boy named Matthew, grew up and said to her one day, "Mrs. Calloway, because of you, I want to become a teacher too." Amelia hugged him. "Then go and open your own school. Change more lives." When Amelia and Silas became old, with gray hair and slower steps, they still sat on the same porch every evening. One golden sunset, Amelia took Silas's wrinkled hand and said, "I have no regrets, Silas. All those no's I heard in my life were not punishments. They were only leading me here, to you, to our beautiful children, to the school, and to the deep love we share." Silas smiled and gently kissed her hand. "And I thank God every single day that I arrived late to the station that afternoon. If I had come early, I would have missed the best partner he ever sent me. Their story spread across the whole county. People said that real beauty is not found in a young face or smooth skin. It lives in courage, patience, kindness, and a heart that never stops hoping. Amelia Vance had once stood alone and unwanted at a dusty train station. But because she never gave up, she found much more than a husband. She found purpose, a loving family, true partnership, and a love that lasted a lifetime. And until the end of her days, she would say with a peaceful smile, "Sometimes the longest wait brings the greatest gift of all." Thank you for riding along on this story. Drop your location and time one more time if you'd like, and if it touched you, like, send some stars, follow, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. See you in the next tale.